Hi, I'm Kerry and I'm a spiritual teacher and spiritual guide here in Bali. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what I do. So what I do here is work with people to offer them strategies, tools, if you want to call it tools, or what I really love to teach when I'm teaching is to call them golden gems to put in your spiritual treasure chest. It's just a little metaphor that I use because I find that very uplifting, and my groups normally love that when I'm teaching, to find those little golden gems that are really helpful. So a session with me or in one of my workshops, what I like to teach is to get people to really feel where their blocks are or where their emotions are. So what really works is when I take people into their inner child. And what I find, and I mean, we're talking about, I've seen thousands of people in my lifetime so far since I've been doing this work, and my previous work as a counsellor, social worker, peer support officer. What I find is people just need to reconnect back to when they disconnect from their, I call it the inner child. And what that means is there's been some kind of trauma or disconnection, or you can call that anything that you want, but it's created something within that child that child takes into adulthood, and it becomes part of the personality. So for example, I had a client that was very stuck on why they couldn't have a relationship with their mother, and they couldn't work out why. They couldn't work out why there was nothing the mother was really doing. She was really trying and the daughter was really trying, but there was no connection there. And when we did this process, because there is a formula, but when we did this process, and when she was 3 years old, she remembered her mum always putting her in a room with her toys. She was an only child, so she didn't have any other siblings, but her mother would put her in that room to play a lot in the evening while she was preparing dinner and sitting down with her dad. And she felt a deep trauma, a deep disconnection, and it was like a feeling of, I'm not being seen, I'm not being heard, no one's here for me, mum and dad are over there, I feel like I'm not wanted. There was many issues coming up. So childhood trauma can be a small thing, but as children we're not taught to regulate our emotions and reset. So we take that behaviour that's being formed into adulthood, and because we're not taught as children to self-regulate, we think as adults that that's how it is, and we don't understand where that trauma is coming from. So if we can go in and just it's not about going in and reliving the past, it's about going in, making that quick connection. Like, the process is very simple, very easy, but once you make that connection, the emotion comes out. So the tears might flow, there might be some anger that needs to be dealt with, but there's deep release within, so we can start, or I start realigning that person with who they truly are. Because when we're children, we're actually we don't carry fear, we don't carry we're not safe, we don't carry I am not confident. Every child is confident and free loving and carefree and full of unconditional love. But when conditions are put on that child, that's when we disconnect from who we truly are. We're just joyful little loving beings running around just being and living in the moment and carefree, and then that things happen, conditions put on, you need to become this, you need to have a certain status, you need to dress a certain way, you're this, you're that, many conditions, you're not good enough, you'll never be that, you need to get a degree in this before you can achieve that. Well, what I've learned is, and I have a degree in human services and social work, that's not actually true. We are born with a gift. Each and every one of us has a gift of service to give, Everyone on this planet, when we find that gift, we flourish. When we're led in another path or down another path, perhaps dad's a lawyer, so he wants his son to become a lawyer. And the son's resisting, but he wants to please the dad, so there's a resistance already there. And the son, although successful through achieving the law degree, starts to feel depressed and anxious. 5 years into he's running his own business or working for a firm, a legal firm, and he doesn't know why. It's because he's not living his purpose. He's living the purpose of his father's expectation, and because he doesn't understand his emotions, he doesn't know what that is. And then he looks back at when he was, say, 10 years old, and he wanted to be a musician and play the guitar or drums or whatever. And that was the one thing that inspired him to be his fullest. But he wasn't living what makes him thrive. He was living what he was told he should become. So these are the things that we do and we follow, and it's old patterning. When we hear the words old paradigm, old patterns, ancestral blocks, those sorts of things, what they're saying is we're carrying behaviour or patterns of our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors that were left here. So we need to clear that energy. And we're in a time, this is the new human way, is to come in and understand, have an understanding of what that is. So, for example, that information is stored in a database called the subconscious in the mind that lies within the mind. And to get into that subconscious and open that door, we need to understand what consciousness is. And we only ever are conscious 5% of the time, because 95% of the time we're in the subconscious, because that's what we're taught, where all that data is stored. Consciousness is the here and the now, and the awareness of I understand what my mind is doing. My mind is not me. I was born a spiritual light, beautiful being, carefree, fun, joy. So to open that door, we need to learn techniques. There's a formula that we use to go in and knock on that door, open up that subconscious, and we realign. Like reprogramming a database, a computer, a hard drive. And then we step through that door, and what we do, we take consciousness in there. And consciousness is the present. So the thoughts are coming from the past, but if we can change that thought when that doorway opens, when we step through it, there's your cue, open. I am. So if the mind is telling you to be fearful of that decision, that's when you go in, you do the work, and you go in, you step through the door of the subconscious, and you say, I am safe, I am confident, I'm thriving. That's just the I am statements are consciousness, and they can actually help rewire the subconscious. But there's many, many ways to do this. So because you actually have to direct that affirmation into the heart and feel it. And if the heart is not opened, you can't actually step into the reprogramming step. You won't step through that door, because those thoughts, not only are they programmed in the mind, they're programmed in the body on a cellular level. So we're working with the mind and body to reprogram that and come into your spiritual essence. So your spiritual essence is in your heart. Your heart is your gateway to your soul, to your spirit. It's your gateway to step into your the angelic realm, which we're all connected to. Each and every one of us has a guardian angel. And when we do that, we feel, because we're aiming for feelings, we feel inspired. So even if you wrote that word down, it'd be in spirit. Inspired. Inspiration. Who gives me inspiration? What gives me inspiration? Every morning when you wake up, if you ask yourself those two questions with your hand on your heart, you will receive answers. And if you don't in that moment, keep doing it. And keep doing it and keep doing it, because you will get the answers. Your heart has neurons just like your brain. We have 40,000 neurons in the heart, and those neurons have signals that are connected to the thymus gland, which is inside the chest cavity, is the thymus gland, and it's connected to the heart, and it's like they have a deep, intimate connection when fired up. It's like a little romance going on in there, but it's separate from here, but we need them all working together, so there's a nice flow, a nice balance. And there's many ways to do this. So when we look about, when I was trained in yoga, it was learning how to shift energy through the body from a physical way or perspective, which is a bit different than moving the mind and body together. So there's the formula is, yoga works very well to get you in your physical body, even jogging or stretching or just getting to know your body on that level, and then your mind, getting to know your mind, how that is. And then meditation actually gets you to a place of knowing and can get you into your heart very quickly, so you can move that energy from the mind, from the body, into the heart, and come into who you truly are. Another thing I'd like to mention too, if you're interested, I'm an ambassador for 1 Million Meditators here in Bali, and 1 Million Meditators are a beautiful organisation that are here to help shift consciousness and raise the vibration of the population and the planet. And they offer free meditations 24/7. I actually do a meditation, Sacred Heart meditation, and I also have a podcast now, which is Sacred Heart Connections. I also have a Facebook group, Sacred Heart Connections. All this is freely available to you to come on and ask questions. If you're stuck with anything, don't be afraid to reach out. There's always someone, especially in a safe group. So I've created this group that's safe. So there's a specific audience there that resonates with what I'm talking about. And they ask questions that inspires me to give answers. So I'm relying on you to ask me questions, because that's what inspires me. And then I want to inspire you and uplift you through asking the questions. I also do one-on-one sessions, and they're for an hour, and they can be done on Skype, or if when the restrictions are lifted, I'll be running my workshops and retreats again here in Bali, and I'm actually going to expand more into the internationally at the end of 2020, or when these restrictions lift. That's my plan, my goal, and do a bit of speaking work as well. So if you're interested, follow me. Go onto my website, that's www.kerrythehealer.com, and you can reach me through the Yoga Barn in Ubud. I'm on their webpage under the healing section as one of their healers. I also, as one of their teachers, I teach Sacred Heart meditation there on a regular basis, and I'll be filming my 1 Million Meditators Sacred Heart meditation from Yoga Barn in the near future. So have a beautiful day. Please reach out if you resonate with anything that I've spoken to you about. One thing I'll mention before I go is anxiety and depression are really prevalent at the moment, and there needs to be an understanding that depression is about the build-up of the past. Anxiety is, I'm fearful of the future, what might happen. But I want you to remember that is all coming from your mind, and the mind has programmed that in your body to feel a certain way, and that feeling is to suppress you. That's its job. Depression and anxiety have a job, and you don't need to hold that if you don't want to. So if you're feeling that, please reach out to me, ask me questions about that, and I'll do whatever I can to help you and assist you. Thank you so much. Namaste.